Hey guys, it's me again before the music, and I just wanted to say I'm sorry I didn't come out with a podcast this Saturday. I had a family friend in town. In fact, he's one of my best friends. He was in town, and we were just kicking it up and chilling, and so I really didn't have time to sit down and write a show. I wanted to talk more about the schedule thing that I was talking about in the last podcast, and I really feel confined to my schedule. I want to have a podcast at least once a week. I know that, but I also want to put out a good product. And I don't want to put out anything that's subpar my 100% effort. And so with that being said, I'm going to go down to one podcast a week unless there's just an exorbitant amount to talk about. And from there, I can promise you that I'm going to put 100% into that one podcast a week. It might be a little longer. It won't be like 35 minutes exactly. But nonetheless, I'm going to try and I'm going to put my best foot forward. With that being said, really, I'm just going the long way at saying that there might not be a podcast schedule for a little bit. I have summer school that's really been kicking me in the butt, as well as I'm moving from where I'm currently at to a different house. And so it'll just be working around that for this upcoming week, or a couple weeks, in fact. Because moving is a process, and I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about the inconsistent podcast as of late, but don't worry. I'm gonna still be here, and I'm gonna try to put out something in this whole moving process. I might put out just a show where I'm just talking about the Thunder. Who knows? That's a lot of what this show is already. So if you're down to hear me rant about where we're headed, or I guess sometimes be excited and then get really sad, then let's tune in. But nonetheless, that all being said, I just wanted to keep you guys informed. I'm moving, so I'm not sure what my podcast schedule will be for the next couple weeks. I'm going to try to put out one a week, and hopefully we'll see where it goes from there. Once I get everything situated, I want to ramp back up to 2 a week. We'll see how summer school and all that's treating me, from so on and so forth. With that being said, cue that music, and let's get right into this episode. Hello, everybody listening to the Vertical Jump podcast here on the verticaljump.org. I hope you are having a great day, whether it's morning, evening, middle of the day, you're driving, whatever you're doing. I hope that everything that you're putting your foot forward into is going well. It's been a minute since we sat down and talked about sports, so man, I'm excited. I'm excited for what I have to say for today's show. I really want to start this off by saying congratulations to the United States women's team for bringing home another World Cup title. They won 2-0, and I just really want to congratulate them because I know the entire tournament I've kind of been talking about the world versus Team USA women's, but nonetheless, in the end, I'm happy to see them win in the way they did, and they deserve that. They worked hard throughout the tournament, and Rapinoe was nasty. And I just want to say congrats to them. They had their parade today, and I kind of want to focus on one thing that Rapinoe said. What she said when I was watching her speech that stuck out to me, the quote goes like this: "We have to be better. We have to love more, hate less. We've got to listen more and talk less. We've got to know that this is everybody's responsibility. It's our responsibility to make the world a better place." Now, I don't really get into politics on this podcast. I don't really talk about, left or right or central, whatever you are. But I do want to talk about this aspect of love in our society. And this kind of parades through what I mainly talk about, which is sports. I have an irrational love for the Oklahoma City Thunder, yes. I had an irrational hate for the Golden State Warriors after they signed Kevin Durant. I had an irrational love for LeBron while he was in Cleveland, and I still care about LeBron, and I want to see him win because that matters to me. I spent, 12 years of my life in Cleveland. That city's ingrained in who I am. But this idea of love in sports, it's not just the irrational love of whatever sports team you support. We have to start loving our neighbor, whether they're a Heat fan, whether they're a Warriors fan, whether they're a Orlando fan, whether they're, a Bundesliga fan, whether they're a Premier League fan. We have to love our neighbor. And it's more than sports. It's loving them for who they are. You can love somebody and say, our lifestyle's different. That's all right. You love people through their differences. That's what I want to talk about mainly. Loving people through their differences, because our society's so divided. We say, oh, you're a conservative, I don't want to talk to you. Oh, you're a liberal, I don't want to talk to you. Oh, you're a socialist, I can never talk to you. And humans aren't just whatever political faction they support. Humans are more than that. Humans are people who have different shared experiences, who have different backgrounds, who understand the world differently. But that doesn't mean that they are incapable of loving one another. In a world that's so divided, be different. Say, that's my neighbor, and he may be Muslim, but I love him. Say, that's my neighbor, he may be black, but I love him. That's my neighbor, he may be white, but I love him. It's not hard, guys. It's not hard. We're conditioned, we're taught to hate. We're taught to hate those that are different from us. We're taught to dislike everything that isn't our normal world. Well, open up. We're not the center of the universe. Everybody has a problem. And the problem all stems from irrational hate for one another. How can we strive to make this failing world a better place if we're too busy fighting each other because we're different? No, that's not it. That's not it. And so what she said about love was so true. I may not agree with their arguments for some things, but I can say that the most integral part about anybody's life is loving one another and loving who that person is for who they are. Just because somebody's black, just because somebody's white, just because somebody's Muslim, just because somebody's Chinese, just because somebody's Mexican, just because somebody's an immigrant, just because somebody may not be a legal immigrant, does not deny that person the right to be treated as a human. It's not a hard concept to get. And looking at the world around us, it just breaks my heart. Breaks my heart. Because we see people that are taking a stand to say, guys, it's not hard, let's love each other, and they get belittled in society. The people that are trying to make a difference get talked down on. Shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't it be the people that are supporting unification, supporting bridging these differences, supporting learning how to understand where each and every person is coming from? Shouldn't those people be celebrated? Like, sometimes we as individuals in this human race have to look at each other and say, we got to do better. We have to look at ourselves and say, we got to do better. So before you condemn or judge somebody, learn to love them in the life that they walk, and learn to be a good person to them, and be kind and be honest. That's just what I wanted to start this podcast off by saying. I want to, again, congratulate the United States women's team for bringing home a World Cup. I may not be an American, but it is good to see that they, achieved something that they set out to do. I want to kind of switch gears and talk about the men's national team for a second. I was on Twitter, and I know it's not a good idea to go on Twitter after, a loss or something and see what people are saying, because a lot of what people said is ignorance. A lot of people were saying that, oh, how can the women's team dominate in the World Cup and then the men's team suck? And as an outsider, I'm not American. As an outsider, me looking at American soccer, I want to take two things into account. The women's team is dominant. They're established. They're head and shoulders above and beyond the competition they play. The men's team is a little bit different. They're going through a rebuilding period. You have to understand, the men's team lost a significant amount of talent due to age. They lost Donovan, Dempsey, Howard. Michael Bradley's getting older. Josie Altidore is getting older. That core group that was making the World Cups and, doing good and getting out of the group, that core group is now gone. They have a different group in place, and it's a young team that it's going to take time to figure things out. And people on Twitter were claiming that, this team, they disappointed again. They couldn't get a result in the Gold Cup final against Mexico. And I just want to go out and say that them getting to the Gold Cup final and, before that game, not allowing all but 2 goals, that was impressive. And seeing how young of a team with guys like Tyler Boyd and Pulisic, how young they were, but still being able to compete at such a high level was impressive. Pulisic looked like he was in control. There were moments in that final against Mexico where Pulisic would just be gliding through defenders, making them look foolish. And yes, I know he struggled against Mexico to score or assist, but he looked like he was finding his footing against them. Again, that old crew, that old United States men's team is gone. You can't respect a World Cup result from a bunch of guys that are 18 to 24. It's tough to do, especially from a team that didn't qualify from the World Cup last summer. So you just have to put things in perspective. And things are trending up for the Team USA team. Think back, 2017, they won the Gold Cup. They went to the semifinals in the Copa America in 2016. And I understand that not qualifying for the World Cup was a low point. But, again, things are trending up. You have a whole bunch of guys headed over to Europe, which is exciting. You have a younger team. It's not just MLS talent, contrary to popular belief. And whether it's in the 2022 or 2026 World Cup, you guys have something special brewing. You have something organic and something natural. Again, I talked about it on a previous podcast that if you want to hurry up and rush this rebuild, just, put guys around Pulisic and say, do everything, go ahead, but you're going to end up like Argentina or Portugal. A great player surrounded by decent talent that will never be able to win in a final. It's heartbreaking. It's hard. It's hard. Think about the struggle that Messi's gone through. He just lost in the Copa America semifinal. And that's just because Argentina has manufactured a team that is so reliant on Messi's greatness that when it gets to the big stage and teams are keyed in especially harder on Messi, they can't get a result. And if you USA fans keep rushing this rebuild, that's what's going to happen. You can't hurry along guys like Tyler Boyd and Pulisic, Zach Steffen. You can't hurry them along. They're going to have something exciting for the United States in international play. Again, just be patient. The Gold Cup result wasn't what you wanted it to be, but still you have to admire how hard they played for 80 minutes in that game. And they lost off a goal that hit the crossbar and in that was almost unsavable by Zach Steffen. So you gotta take things into account. Without that ball hitting the crossbar and diving into the back of the net, they could have gone to extra time, and you never know what happens in extra time. Because you can dominate an entire soccer game and let in one goal. So again, be patient. Good things are coming for this United States national team, and they more than overperformed in that Gold Cup. So put things into perspective. The women's team is dominant. They're dominant. They had the talent. They have the players. The men's team, the infrastructure is not as strong. They brought in a new manager. They're rebuilding. It's just the way things go. Teams go through rebuilding phases. And it's in that rebuild that you have to be patient. So, again, to reiterate my point, just hang in there, guys. And that's coming from a guy that isn't necessarily a diehard United States fan because, again, I'm not from here. This isn't my home country. So keep that in mind as you guys go into this next chapter of United States soccer. I'm going to do a whole 360 and start talking about the NBA if that's all right with you guys. So, again, I presume you guys have heard the news. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are now on the Clippers. And I want to tell you how this deal went down for me. So, the night before the Kawhi Leonard decision, I was fairly tired, and I went to bed relatively early. It was right after the Zion Williamson game and that whole earthquake. And so I was like, yeah, I'm beat. Let me go to bed. It's like 11. I wake up to 50 plus notifications on my phone, a plethora of text messages from other Thunder fans. And they said that we got rid of Paul George. And I thought it was a joke that they all conspired against me, right? And so I check Woj's Twitter, update the Twitter. And I see Kawhi Leonard has made his decision. And I keep reading, and then I see that Paul George has decided to go with him by demanding a trade. And immediately, I start seeing articles on why the Clippers are the outright favorites for the title with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Now, they have Patrick Beverley at point guard. They have Zubac at center. They have a deep team. But I want to put a couple things into perspective. I want to say hold your horses on this whole, the Clippers are outright the best team in LA. Because I've seen NBA reporters, beat reporters all writing that, in a Clippers-Lakers matchup, the Clippers would win because the Clippers have more depth, they have better defense, they have the better coach, and, they're now ranking Kawhi better than LeBron, so, they have the better player. Let's look at this in this perspective. Kawhi Leonard has had this nagging quad injury that limited him to 65 games with the Raptors this year. Paul George, after All-Star break, had both his shoulders fall off. Like one was a torn rotator cuff and the other was a torn labrum. This isn't the first season from these two that they have been hurt. And if you look at it in the vacuum of how good this team can be when they're completely healthy, yes, this Clippers team can be very good. They can be a 60-win team, especially with the amount of parity that we have in the league now. But they have two star players that have been known to be injury prone. You have Kawhi Leonard, who's going to take off 20 games a year because of his quad injury. And you have Paul George, who in every single season has some late season nagging injury that he has to fight through. They are often injured superstars. And so you have Kawhi Leonard go down. And if you just have Paul George in the Western Conference, as a Thunder fan, I can say that having just Paul George won't be good enough. Now, if you have just Kawhi Leonard, that might be something different, but that was also the East. So you have to look at it in the vacuum of the East versus a vacuum of the West. But the Clippers have two superstars now. Both of them are often injured late in season. And Kawhi chose the Clippers over the Lakers because everybody's saying that he didn't want to be in LeBron's shadow. This move doesn't make sense to me if Kawhi didn't want to be in LeBron's shadow because he went to the crosstown rival. They play in the same building. LA's LeBron City. They call it LA Bron. So if you didn't want to be in LeBron's shadow, why not just re-up with the Raptors? You would have a country to yourself. The Raptors were discussing moves to get Paul George from the Thunder, still the running mate that you wanted, as well as you would be a folklore hero bigger than you already are, because you would have been the star that brought a championship to Toronto, but you would have also been the second star to say, and I want to play here the rest of my prime. But that's not who Kawhi Leonard is. And I'm so frustrated with this media narrative that we've now established that what Kawhi did was great for player empowerment. He did what LeBron did times two. He did a one-up on LeBron James. He took LeBron's playbook, rewrote it better, then gave it back to him. And I just want to say, you guys crucified LeBron for what he did. You put him through the fire for what he did. You said he strung out the Cavaliers. He was talking to Wade and Bosch the entire time. He knew he was going to go to the Heat. Why didn't he do something? Why didn't he tell the Cavs? You murdered LeBron in mainstream media. But now mainstream media is praising Kawhi, saying he's going home. He's made the move for himself. He got his running mate he wanted. Kawhi Leonard is a basketball savant. And I just want to say, can we be fair in this assessment? Kawhi Leonard is like any other star. It's just that he doesn't talk to mainstream media much. We don't know who he is. And so he's just like any other star. He wants a running mate because that seems like it's a common thread in today's NBA. He texts other stars, but then he gives you this persona of, I'm just a quiet guy. I don't talk much, but I'm a fun guy. Cue his laugh. No. Kawhi Leonard is just like LeBron. He's just like KD. He'll do what's best for him, and I'm all for that. But let's see Kawhi Leonard for who he really is. Stop protecting Kawhi Leonard from who he really is. He's a guy that's going to play 60 games, get into the playoffs, play great in the playoffs, but ultimately his allegiance isn't to the team. He doesn't even trust the Clippers. He signed a 3-year deal, and after 2 years he has a player option to skedaddle. Right after, they just traded for Paul George and gave up their picks for till 2026. So Kawhi Leonard could say, oh, I'm out of here, skedaddle, while the Clippers don't have a pick for the next 4 seasons, 5 seasons. So I think the Clippers signed up for something that they aren't sure of. They signed up for expectations that I don't think they'll reach. Because I don't know how good a Paul George and Kawhi Leonard core could be. Look at every time Kawhi Leonard won a championship. He had an elite or close to an elite point guard on his team. When Kawhi Leonard won a championship in San Antonio, let's not discredit how good Tony Parker was. Let's not discredit how good Tim Duncan was. When Kawhi Leonard won a championship in Toronto, we claim that, Kawhi single-handedly brought the Raptors a championship. We discredit how good Pascal Siakam was in that series. We also discredit how good Kyle Lowry was in that series. I understand they may not be completely 100% consistent, but Kyle Lowry had one heck of a game 5. He may have missed a game winner, but he also had one. He redeemed himself by having one heck of a game 6 as well. So look at it outside of the vacuum. Look at the big picture here. The Clippers signed a star that is going to play 60 regular season games. And then at that point, you have to hope that he'll be ready to go in the playoffs. And then you sign Paul George, where you're not sure what you're going to get from him. You're not sure whether he's going to be healthy. He's a guy that has a rod in his leg and had 2 surgeries on his shoulders. 2 often injured stars. And if Kawhi Leonard can skedaddle after the first 2 years of his deal and you don't own a draft pick until 2026, that's a scary sight, because I don't think a then, 30-some-year-old Paul George is going to get it done. Mind you, Paul George only has 2 years left on his deal, so he can skedaddle when Kawhi Leonard skedaddles. And then Patrick Beverley's gone a year after that because he signed a 3-year deal. This window for the Clippers is 2 years. 2 years. It's like the Lakers window. I want to talk about the Lakers. The Lakers have an extremely short window for a championship. Them whiffing on Kawhi Leonard and Kawhi Leonard making the wrong decision in LA teams has closed their window down to this season. And if you think about it, that's a scary proposition, because they're now claiming they're going to play LeBron James at point guard. It's a move. LeBron's really been playing point guard his entire career. I don't understand this whole, now he's listed at point guard. Well, LeBron's been the primary playmaker on whatever team he's been on. Let's get real here. They signed DeMarcus Cousins. They re-signed Rajon Rondo. They have Avery Bradley now. They have Kuzma. They have McGee. They have Anthony Davis. This Lakers team, on paper, they're good. They're good. Especially, again, in this year of parity where we saw 40% turnover with players this offseason in free agency. And that's with air quotes around it. So the Lakers window is this year. If the Lakers fall short in the first round or second round, it's hard for me to see LeBron saying, let me stick around for the 2020 season to see what happens, especially with how weak that 2020 free agency class is. Because that 2021 free agency class, LeBron's contract will be up. Paul George's contract could be up. Kawhi Leonard's contract could be up. Bradley Beal's contract could be up. That 2021, especially, that also has Giannis. My bad. I forgot about Giannis being in that draft class. So you're asking an older LeBron after this season, if the Lakers fall short, to stick around for one more to see what happens when they have no real great free agents to go out and get in that 2020 offseason. That's why I'm sticking to this belief that the Lakers championship window is this year or bust. If they don't win it this year, you have to remember AD can walk in 2020. And say this team severely underperforms. You think Anthony Davis, who's easily influenced, isn't afraid to just say, hey, I'm out of here. Why should I put up with this? Because with a LeBron-led team, what Anthony Davis is going to realize, when the team wins, it's, hey, LeBron, wow, LeBron does it himself. And then when the team loses, it's, wow, Anthony Davis is not that good. Wow, LeBron had no help. So if this team underperforms and Anthony Davis is getting those type of headlines all year long, he can walk at the end of this year. And if Anthony Davis walks, I am all but certain LeBron would say, I'm out of here too. And you have DeMarcus Cousins on a veteran minimum. You're not sure what you're going to get from him in the front court. This Lakers scenario, they can be really good this year, but they can also be a dumpster fire. We'll see what happens. They're putting a lot of pressure on older LeBron James to go out and get this done for them. But I'm hoping that in the long haul, it works out. Because Lakers fans, they've been through hell and back. Let's talk about the topic I've been avoiding for the last 30 minutes or so. The Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, you know this one hurts me, guys. This one hurts me. I've been a long time Thunder fan. I've been there through the ups and the downs and, you know, the playoff debacles and the 3-1 series blows. And it's all coming to an end. I wrote an article on the website, theverticaljump.org, detailing every single detail that really led to the point where we're at as a Thunder team. We traded Paul George. We got a great haul for Paul George. We control the Clippers picks up till 2026. We have that Miami Heat pick that's unprotected. And now we're on the verge of trading Russell Westbrook. He's been my basketball hero, kind of my basketball icon for the past 6-7 years. And with Paul George leaving, he has no real purpose to stay in Oklahoma. There's no chance at winning a championship. Yeah, we got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We got Danilo Gallinari. The Thunder Twitter decided to make a Mike Muscala mixtape to hype us up about signing him. But I understand why Russ is on his way out, and I understand why Russ is open to trade talks. Teams I'd like to see Russell Westbrook go to, the Miami Heat. Although we can have their unprotected pick, I think it'll give him his best shot at succeeding. I don't know how locker room friendly a Russ and Jimmy Butler backcourt will be, and to have Russ go to Miami, it'd be a 3-team deal, most likely sending Goran Dragic to Dallas, Russell Westbrook to Miami, and then we'd get back Winslow, Bam, Hero. Miami is reportedly not wanting to give up Tyler Hero because of his potential, and I can see why. He's a young piece. Russell Westbrook's going to be 31. Why give up young assets for an old point guard who might not age the best because he can't shoot? But I also want to say one thing. I understand why we have to move Russell Westbrook in order to completely dive into this rebuild and accept it for what it is. But I also want to say Russell Westbrook has more value on the Oklahoma City Thunder than he will have on any other team in the NBA. We're not going to get anything close to his value for this franchise back. So, why not keep him on the team? Have him mentor a young Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You know, have him on this team that may not make the playoffs, or it may be a low-seeded team in the Deep West, but have him sell tickets, have him be the icon figure that he was for Oklahoma, we kept Nick Collison around long after he had any basketball value. And I feel that Oklahoma kind of owes Russ the same. If Russ wants out, I get it. He deserves out. He deserves to be in a position where he can win a championship. But if there's any reason that he wants to stay, Sam Presti should let him stay. Sam Presti should craft a scenario where he can be the icon figure that he is in Oklahoma. He may not win a championship, but his value to our franchise can't be put into words. And I say that with the utmost passion in my voice. So when I saw that Russell Westbrook was open to trade talks, it hurt me. Not because the franchise is headed to the lottery and we're going to be rebuilding for a couple years, but because Russell Westbrook was the type of athlete that I wanted to see retire in an Oklahoma City Thunder jersey. And I wish Sam Presti and management had done better by him. I almost feel that if Russ didn't know that he was put into that Toronto Raptors trade, he would have wanted to stay amidst all that's going on. Think about it. Russ stayed when we lost Kevin Durant. He stayed when we lost James Harden. He stayed when his best running mate was Victor Oladipo. And I feel that if he just would have realized that Sam Presti wasn't going to put him in that Raptors trade, I feel he want to stay now. But how can you trust a general manager that has claimed to have your back for so long, but at first moment sight is trying to get rid of you? I get it. I'm wishing the best if Russ leaves. I'm also begging Sam Presti to keep him on this team. I get it's a rebuild, and people, I saw this foolish article claiming that Russell Westbrook gave Oklahoma fans Stockholm Syndrome, which is basically, if you don't know what Stockholm Syndrome is, it's where you sympathize with the person that's keeping you captive. It's people that develop relationships with the person that kidnapped them or, is keeping them from their family, holding them against their will. Stockholm Syndrome is when you develop a relationship with that person and you feel attached to them and then you don't want them to leave. That's not what Russell Westbrook did. And that article pissed me off because it disrespected all that Russell Westbrook had built for Oklahoma. Why Thunder fans love Russell Westbrook so much is because he embodied everything that the franchise should have been. The franchise should have been all about winning, but they weren't. The franchise should have been all about giving you 100% effort, but they weren't. We have one of the best negotiating GMs in the NBA, but we're never able to land the free agents needed. And Paul George was supposed to be different. Paul George was supposed to be the guy that chose Oklahoma. He was our DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan chose Toronto, and they moved him. And it shows what's wrong in the NBA. Loyalty no longer exists. So I don't blame Russell Westbrook for leaving. Russell Westbrook chose Oklahoma. He could have left when KD left. He signed a 5-year extension. He chose Oklahoma, and Sam Presti, in the quickest breath, put him in a trade with the Toronto Raptors, mortgaging his trust with the longtime star, the guy that held our franchise afloat when Kevin Durant left us with nothing. I don't think that's how you treat the guy that is your franchise. So if Russ stays, I'll be more than happy to cheer him on 82 games this season, whether that means playoffs or not. If Russ leaves, I'm wishing him all but the best and hopefully a championship. A championship maybe would come if he went to Miami and they somehow got other pieces, or, Minnesota with the young core that they have with Cat. It could be possible, but we'll see what happens. I've been hearing rumblings about the Knicks being the best suitors in recent reports, and I'm praying that he doesn't go to the Knicks because, man, Knicks fans are going to turn on Russ. They're going to turn on him. So, Russ, I'm wishing you the best. I hope that at the start of the year you're going to be on Oklahoma, but if you're not, again, go win a championship and prove all the doubters wrong. I want to talk briefly about free agency next. Free agency isn't a thing anymore. Now, hear me out. Adam Silver talked about how he's kind of discontent with the way that things are happening in the NBA. Players are just demanding trades left and right, and they're signing the massive extensions that you get from being on that team for a certain amount of years and being a star player. But then as soon as those extensions go into activation, they're demanding a trade. And I just want to say what's wrong with the NBA. I don't think having a 40% player turnover year after year is sustainable for a league. And I understand that parity is good for a year, but super teams are better for the long run of the league. The 70s is known as a decade of parity in the NBA. But the 70s is also the year the league almost folded. The 80s were dominated by Magic and Bird. The 90s, Michael Jordan. The early 2000s, Lakers. Then you had the LeBron 8-year, 9-year run. And now you have the year of parity. Down go the Warriors. Every team has 2 stars. We have 6 contenders in each conference. It's great. Yeah, it's great for a year or two. But constant turnover in a league is not good, and it shows that players are unhappy. So, with that being said, I look to see what Adam Silver does about star players just demanding trades as soon as their extensions go into activation. Because free agency really isn't a thing. It's a year-round cycle. Because in 2 months, 3 months, as soon as the season starts, there's going to be some disheartened superstar that wants out. It's bound to happen. I mean, think about it this way. They had these rules set up where, you can't talk to free agents until the free agency period is open. There's no way 20 deals get done within an hour of free agency opening. Teams are talking to players behind closed doors without the league knowing. And though it may be good for the league to some degree, it's not sustainable. Apparently, Kevin Durant knew he was going to the Nets before the GM of the Nets knew he was going to the Nets. The GM of the Nets found out on a social media post. That's dangerous. It's a slippery slope the NBA's on. Yes, the year of parity, it'll be nice to truly not know who's going to win the championship for once. But super teams drive the narrative of leagues. What would the NFL be without the constant villainization of the Patriots? What would have the NBA been without the constant villainization of the Warriors the past 5 years? Dynasties are crucial to the survival of leagues. So think about that as your cheer for parity within your professional sports leagues. It's a slippery slope. The NBA is on a slippery slope. You never know what next disheartened or angry star will be saying, I'm done here. Trade me. I'm not going to resign. Kyrie Irving did it twice. It's a slippery slope we're on. If you made it to this point in the podcast, that means you've made it to the end. I want to thank you for listening, and if you found anything I said here entertaining, how about you subscribe, follow, share it with your friends. You can find me on social media. My Instagram is IAN_KAYJAY, and then my Twitter is IANKAY. That's where you find all my opinions, all my posts. My Instagram, you see a lot of me. I mean, I look good, right? But with that being said, I'm hoping that the rest of your day is your best of your day. As always, stay blessed.